starting lineup. Bringing the heat, Ricky Botalico. Hunter, Rody, Jen, Gordo. And finally, your host, Road Johnson. It's the best show ever. 97.5, the Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Best show ever here on 97.5, the Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. 610-632-0975. The whole crew is back. So let's get right to our opening statements. We start with the word of the day. And the word of the day today is dangerous. Now, I want to make one thing clear as we talk about the dangerous things going on right now. It's not that anybody's saying that the Eagles are not still the favorites in the NFC and that the Eagles we're not panicking. But the Eagles have now had themselves in a situation, this is the first time we're on since some of the things changed, where things are a little bit or a lot more dangerous. Now, it just happened. Rest in peace to Pele, one of the all-time pioneers in all of sports. Obviously, it has an argument for the greatest soccer player of all time. Rest in peace to another all-time great, and it just stinks when we lose those greats because we're losing the greats faster than we can replace the greats. But talking about the Eagles with dangerous, first thing is, right before the show we found out, Jalen Hurts is practicing today, and apparently he's going to practice with the starters. And there's video of him throwing around, and the most important thing we saw was he did not physically show that he was in pain at the end of throws. We don't know anything else. This is what we know. He practiced, and in the videos we saw of him throwing, he wasn't grabbing the shoulder. He wasn't shaking it out afterwards. It appears that he was able to throw pain-free. But that brings us to a level of dangerous. We know that initially they said it was a 2-week injury, but they said it wasn't too serious. And if it was a 2-week injury, he would need to miss this Sunday's game against the Saints before either returning for the Giants if they needed it before the bye or perhaps sitting out into the playoffs. So is it dangerous to play Jalen Hurts if that shoulder isn't 100%? Or would the Eagles not even have him practicing if he is? We'll get into that a little bit more. So the Dallas game happens, and the result didn't really matter. But a couple things happened in that game that are significant as we go forward that leads us to some of the danger. First thing chronologically was Avonte Maddox injury with his toe. Now, the way it basically works, and this is what's strange about the body, I go and I ask a doctor, what this stuff means. And with the toe, what it means is if it's a grade 2 sprain, it's a 4-week injury, so he could return for the playoffs. He's not going to play the regular season, most likely. But 4 weeks would make him able to play, at least in some form, in the first playoff game. If it's grade 3, that requires surgery, and he's out for months. Now, he'd be ready for next season, but whether he does it now or later, it's going to be a 4-month situation. So if he gets it some point in January, you're talking about he's back running around in April and May, and he's fine for training camp. But obviously, he'd be wiped out for the season. But that happened in the game, and you saw what happened with Scott after the fact. Are the Eagles good enough, with Gardner-Johnson still out, to be in the secondary to win the Super Bowl? I want to make this clear. We're not talking about winning a playoff game. When we're talking about all this conversation, it's all off the backdrop of Super Bowl. The Eagles have worked themselves into a spot where it's get to the Super Bowl. Now, if Buffalo or the Chiefs were to beat them, we'll talk about that in February. But right now, we're at the point where it's make the Super Bowl or bust. So anything we're talking about is not making the playoffs. They're already in the playoffs. It's not can they beat the Saints. We know they can beat the Saints. It's about winning or getting to the Super Bowl. Is the secondary with Gardner-Johnson still not back? They have not opened a 21-day window yet for him to return. And without Maddox due to a toe, is the secondary good enough? Or are the Eagles now on a dangerous line where, they might be a little short? And then the big one happened with Lane Johnson where he tears his abductor muscle. Now, apparently he's spoken to a world-renowned specialist who happens to be in the city of Philadelphia, which is even better. And he is going to delay surgery, but he will need surgery, there's no doubt, on this muscle, and he's going to try to play through it. Other players have said, obviously, in the locker room, we love him, but this is a serious injury. This is a serious situation. Ex-players said, when I had that injury, I can't imagine playing through it. This is what we're hearing out there in the world. Now, none of these people have examined Lane, but we do know that it's torn, and we do know he needs surgery. Those are facts. Is it dangerous to allow him to play with this for a Super Bowl? And I say this because I worry about the long-term situation. Can you hurt it worse? What can happen? And can he play well with that? I'm just wondering, are the Eagles now in a bit of a danger zone physically that could preclude them from making the Super Bowl? 610-632-0975. Hunter, hope you had a good holiday. How are you feeling about the Eagles with their current injury situation?
I'm a little nervous. I can't lie. I'm a little nervous, and I've cracked a bit. I guess the best way I can lay it out there is I was once saying they are going to win the Super Bowl. Now I'm saying they can still win the Super Bowl. So that's where I don't know where that falls in the disparity of my confidence level, but that's, I think, the perfect way I can describe it. It was once where it's like, I really believe that they are going to do it. Now it's, well, I think they still can. And look, it's not bad to have that same offensive line and Jack Driscoll being on the right side instead of Lynn. You're still in a good position with Mailata and Jason Kelsey and Dickerson. It's a really talented offensive line. But when you're a quarterback, you don't even think once about getting sacked on that side. He doesn't allow sacks at all. Now it just opens up the door where I'm sure you have to consider it when the ball snapped to you. You think differently about what can happen. And when you think of the secondary, Josiah Scott can't play. All right, he just can't play. So with CJ Gardner-Johnson, you have to think about where he's at with this lacerated kidney and possibly put him in Avonte Maddox's role and keep Reed Blankenship into that safety spot, because I can't have Josiah Scott allowing plays to happen behind him and all these miscues communication-wise between him and the rest of the crew. Those are back-breaking plays. 3rd and 30 is unacceptable, and it just can't happen. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Reed Blankenship won't make mistakes, because he probably will, but if this is what you have to roll with moving forward, if Avonte can't come back, I think that's what you have to look at to put you in the best position. So I'm cracking, Ricky Bell. I'm cracking.
I agree with that defensively. I agree there's definitely some issues defensively, and you're going to give up more points. But my thing is looking forward right now. You are on a very, very thin sheet of ice right now. One more guy or two more guys go down in these next 2 games, then you're in big, big trouble. I think they could still win the Super Bowl right now. I don't think there's any issue about that, but it's keeping your main members of your offense right now healthy, because you're going to have to score. You're going to have to score a lot of points, because you got to believe you're going to give up an extra touchdown a game. You know, missing the defensive backs that you're missing right now. And sorry, but at this point in the season, you're going to run into those type of problems when you lose those defensive backs, that you're going to A, B, C, or D. I mean, on your depth chart, that's when you run into a little bit of trouble. But my thing is, can Nick Sirianni keep these guys out of the games long enough? Obviously, we're seeing Jalen Hurts right now, throwing some passes in practice, coming out as number 1 quarterback in practice today. That scares me more than anything else. Do I think he's getting healthier? Yes. Do I think he should play him this week? No. I'm not on that page. I really am not. I think you give him one more week and let him start the first series maybe against the Giants, just to get some cobwebs out, and then go from there. But I'm not worried right now. You throw another 1 or 2 guys on that injured list, then everybody should be worried.
I think you're underplaying Lane Johnson's importance. A great deal.
I agree.
He's the best. He's the best tackle in the game, and in the game. Period. And he hasn't given up a sack in multiple years, plural.
Now, this is the counter, because I agree with you. I'm more afraid of the right tackle being gone. But the people who say, all right, this offensive line, it's still powerful enough to win a lot of football games, and you can still win a Super Bowl with this offensive line, the hole in the secondary. I don't believe this. This is just what others are thinking, is the hole in the secondary and what you can fill in for Avonte Maddox is significantly worse than throwing Jack Driscoll on the right side for Lane Johnson.
That's possible. And there's also the chance that they could kick Mailata over to the right side if they so chose, and then put Dillard at left tackle. They do have some options there. But is it safe for him? Should he even be allowed to play with this torn muscle?
Probably not.
I mean, if you Google it, it says it's the muscle responsible for you opening up your hips.
Now, number
How
one,
the hell do you play tackle in the NFL if you can't open your hips?
it's called injections.
Right, but they only do one.
Right.
It's injection
And they
now.
that will run out.
Right.
And when that runs out, you are flying solo on that. So whatever pain you have, and it's probably going to be worse at that point, it's not going to be easy. I don't know what he's thinking, to be honest with you.
I respect him. I'm telling you, I love Lane Johnson. I respect that he's trying. But there are a lot of people out there who are just doing and maybe we're crazy, and we'll hear from people today. I know it's this holiday week. Oh, Lane will be fine. Hold on. I don't know if he's just going to be fine. He's a human being, and the muscle's torn. Now, it will require surgery. So that's on the one side. And on the defensive side, I believe CJ Gardner-Johnson will be back for the playoffs. But now you're talking about Gannon being creative. Because I think there's times where you're still going to need him on the back end because Blankenship is no bargain out there in the back. Like the best combination, if you have to, would be have him play the slot. But I think you're going to need Gardner-Johnson out there, which means he's going to have to be creative with his corners on certain downs when Johnson's at safety and have, I don't know, can Zach McPherson? I know it's Zach, but it's spelled wrong. McPherson, can he play? Do they move somebody else around? Can Jonathan Gannon extend his mind and do things he has not done so far to cover up for the injuries? And then you add Ricky Bo's part of more injuries. So I'm still at the point where I think they can make the Super Bowl. But where I disagree are, and I understand holiday cheer. We're still in the holiday cheer. The people saying, oh, you're being extra negative for clicks. Whoa. Just because I wrote about this for Philly Voice, it actually had nothing to do for clicks because I don't even find out how many clicks I get. I don't ask. I write, and then I share. I don't even find out how many clicks I have. I literally am just sitting here like they're still okay. But, man, are they on the line where one more.
Tell me you weren't watching that game against Dallas going, oh, my, how many guys are going to go down here?
Well, the Lane
it was
one,
getting a little ridiculous.
The Lane one scared me. His reaction, we know how tough he is. The way that he handled that, laying on the ground, it felt as if it was going to be monstrous.
Did you see Maddox walking or being helped off the field? His toe was like up in the air.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was just holding it like that.
And he did the sack dance. I hope he didn't get hurt on the dance.
Imagine that.
No, I don't think it did. But still, it was like, oh, man. It's just, are the Eagles on any dangerous ground? We'll get into some end-of-the-year things today as we're back. 610-632-0975. Back here on 97.5, the Fanatic NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Hello there, guys. How are you?
Right?
Good. If Jalen Hurts, this is a hypothetical, Jalen Hurts is 100% healthy, would you play him Sunday against the Saints? You can answer yes, no, or maybe a quarter or a half. Right now, yes is overwhelmingly winning at 83%.
Yes, people are very brave with other people's bodies.
That is very true.
Yeah, very, very brave with other people's bodies. Thank you, Jen. This is the tough part about it. Hurts was not all right, Minshew was not the problem. But be honest. Do they beat the Cowboys if Hurts plays instead of Minshew?
Yes.
Yes. There's also another dimension when Hurts is out there with the run.
Right. They would have won the game. So, if you put him out there today on Sunday, all strong like everybody's saying, and he was to re-injure the shoulder, and that took him out, now what you did was you eliminated your chance of winning the Super Bowl. Because then it's over. Unless Minshew does Magic Foles, because he's better than regular Foles, but he's not better than Magic Foles. So unless you think he could be as good as Magic Foles, and that may be what it takes to win the Super Bowl, high-end quarterback play, I think people are being a little too flippant with the yes. That's all, just a little too flippant with, oh, yeah, definitely have my, hold on. They can win this game without him. And if you lose him, you then can't win. You cannot win the Super Bowl without him.
There's certain things I think fans like to take for granted. I think they look at, well, Jalen Hurts will get back in there. He won't get hurt again. That was a fluke.
Or the fear is if he doesn't play this week, knowing that the Giants game, it might be like a useless time too. Is it fear that the next time he sees legitimate snaps is when it will be the postseason game? So they want him to get some sort of real in-game reps before a Giants game that's probably going to be useless.
Well, I mean, I guess, but but what good are the reps if he's not healthy?
Well, that's the point right there.
Like
You're correct.
What good are the reps? Like you do in a perfect world, you'd have everybody perfectly rested, just right. Like, because what's too much, what's too little, you have the perfect amount of rest and the perfect amount of health, and you have everything perfect. The Eagles are no longer in that particular situation where it's not going to be perfect. There's just no way to make it perfect. So are you possibly compounding the issue you have in the secondary and the offensive line? And Driscoll hasn't played a lot this year. He's played in the past. If he's going to have to be forced to play, wouldn't you want your franchise quarterback behind him after he gets some of the kinks out? So if he has to come in, like he's going to play this week. He has to play this week because Lane's out for the regular season.
Are we in agreement that we prefer Driscoll at right tackle than Mailata over at right tackle and Dillard playing left?
Yes.
I agree.
I don't
Driscoll.
think you want to switch people up right now.
Yeah, I'm with you, but you do have a couple options.
Yeah.
And Nick Sirianni said everything's on the table. Now, I think that's part of I don't want to show you the hand that I'm probably going to play. That's what they do. So.
Yeah. Now, just so we're clear also, with Lane Johnson in his career, the Eagles are 72, 44, and 1. That's a 620 winning percentage. Without Lane Johnson, they are 12 and 21. That's a 364 win percentage.
This is major.
This
is major.
Just so we know.
I did not realize that.
62% of the time when Lane Johnson lines up, you win. You win 36% of the time when he doesn't suit up. Now, I know he's going to try to play. And again, all love to him. I mean, between the ankle injuries he played through and never complained, the mental health stuff that he handled amazingly. Like, I respect Lane Johnson as much as any athlete that's ever played in this city, and I really mean that. But he's not Superman. Is it fair to expect him to be out there and just round off that in a few weeks something that needs surgery is magically going to be healed?
I just don't know how you're going to be able to compete at a high enough level. And look, I mean, he might end up shocking us all. And we're like, wow, how is he doing it? I don't know. But it just feels like it's very, very, very difficult to do this healthy. How are you going to do this when you have such a major issue occurring internally? Like, I just don't understand.
You don't think they're hoping for almost a major miracle in a couple weeks, that he's feeling a lot better and that everything's kind of starting to heal type thing, which we know it's not going to heal completely. We know that.
Because he
needs surgery.
It's not going to heal without surgery.
This whole thing is scary. I mean, for him, not necessarily the Eagles. I'm talking about him personally.
And that's another thing this holiday season I want to ask everybody. We all want a Super Bowl. Let's make that clear. So we agree, Jed, do you agree?
Yeah.
We all want a Super Bowl. We'll be out there in Arizona turning up. It'll be a whole thing. But we do also agree that Lane Johnson's a human being. I'm great for him trying. But I think I'm going to be uncomfortable when they get to that first playoff game, like the 22nd of January, and he's out there trying to play with a torn muscle. It's just something about it feels wrong.
It would depend. Now, let me throw this your way. What if he's dominating? Would you feel differently?
No. What I'm talking about is before he ever gets a chance to dominate. I'm talking about the Eagles defer because they always defer.
Okay.
The defense gets a 3 and out, and they punt, and now they're coming out on their own 37-yard line for the first drive, and the offense runs on the field. And they're doing the TV, whatever channel, the Fox thing, they're doing whatever because they might be prime. Whatever channel they're on, they're doing the starters. And they're running on the field, and it's Jalen Hurts, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what college he says because he went to 2. And then it gets to Lane, like that moment I'm talking about. Before he takes the field, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be a little nervous. I am. I'm not a little, I'm going to be quite nervous for him.
It's fair to be. It's absolutely fair to be. Would you, Ricky? Are you going to feel uncomfortable?
Very. I don't. Quite frankly, I think you get the surgery. I mean, I know it's a big blow to the Eagles, but this could be even worse for him. I mean, this is going to – I don't care who you are. It's going to be extremely, extremely painful. And what do you think the defensive guys don't know this? They don't know what his injury is?
Flood that side. You make them have to chip a guy inside and then hit another guy outside.
Make them double move.
And do that with a muscle that is responsible for opening the hips. It's just this is what I mean where it's dangerous. It doesn't mean they can't do it. It doesn't mean they can't overcome things. At the time, when they lost the bodyguard during the Super Bowl year, I thought, oh, there's no way Big V. And Big V played over his head because he has not been a very good tackle since then. But during that run, he played great. So it's not that you can't do it. It's just that things would be way better if you didn't have to think about it. And that's where I'm at right now with a lot of this stuff where it's like, before you said you were like, they're going to do it. Now I'm sitting there going, man, I mean, I think they're going to do it. And that's the difference from that Dallas game.
I just think they're all right unless something else comes up. I mean, we've seen, Brown twist his ankle like 3 out of the last 4 weeks.
So who would be your secondary? Because remember, Gardner-Johnson.
It's a problem.
You can't just round off that he's back, at least until they initiate the practice window.
I'm assuming he's going to have enough time off to when the playoffs come around, he's going to be back.
Yeah, he basically could have another.
It has to be that upside.
You can have another 3.5 weeks. As long as they get the bye, they have a game on the 1st, the Saints. They have the 8th of January, just to do the timeline. The 8th of January is the Giants game. The 15th would be the bye, and then their first game would be the weekend of the 21st or 22nd.
So he's almost got a month.
He's almost got another month. So I think CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to be back. But, see, we can't have it both ways, though. So we're not worried about his rust. But
you are.
Well, we'll see. Well, hold on. But Jalen Hurts, he's got to play because he have rust. But he's just going to step back in the playoffs after not playing for 8 weeks and just be perfect.
But he used to do that in college, don't forget. When they were going from, like, that layoff from the whatever to the
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Not 8.
Not 8, no.
I'm talking about Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, no. I thought you brought up Jalen Hurts.
No, Jalen
He's
Hurts.
done it before.
I'm fine with Jalen
Johnson,
Hurts.
what I'm going to be nervous about is the speed of play, obviously. I think that's the one thing. Him being healthy is one thing. Is he going to be up to the speed of play is another.
And if you're worried about Jalen Hurts' injury, if you are, you can make it to where he doesn't have to play a game until January 22nd, or you can play him on Sunday. I'm just saying, to me, that's not equal. There's just some things out there that are dangerous to me in my mind, and I admit I am a little bit scared.
I'm just thinking, if I'm looking at a list, and not that I ever want to do this, but the list of things that I don't want to happen to this football team, one would be Jalen Hurts, and the second would arguably be Lane Johnson. So the top 2 things on my list of worries, maybe it would be Jason Kelce because he snaps the ball, but regardless, 2 people at the very, very top, we're now having that conversation, and it's about timing. If this was week 4, maybe it's totally different. You have so much time, guys get back, whatever. I mean, surgery would be totally a different conversation, too, for someone like Lane.
But maybe he would have been back if this was week 4. Maybe he misses 12 weeks and it comes back. Like, who knows?
Right. The 49ers were dealing with a lot, and now they look like a totally different team. So it is all about the timing of stuff. But all I know is if I was making a list of things that can't happen, a lot of the stuff at the top of the list is starting to happen right now as you're heading into the postseason.
And that's
important positions.
Important spots where you don't have depth, and some positions where you can't have depth. You're not going to have a Hall of Fame backup tackle because he would then be someone else's starting tackle. And if you can't, no team in the league is deep enough to lose 2 secondary guys, especially when that's actually Hy Roseman's weakest position as far as drafting, is the secondary.
Wow, you're bringing me down.
I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm saying
the more I think
you're
about
out of 2 secondary guys, and the one position Howie has yet to demonstrate he can draft at a high level, he can draft linemen. He drafted, I think, the Kobe Dean's going to be a good linebacker. He's drafted quarterbacks, running backs.
So
But the one spot he has not drafted well, like Kayvon Wallace not being able to play, how we draft again.
Is your thought to try to get Gardner-Johnson back for next week against the Giants just to get him in there for a little while?
Yeah.
Just to run around, basically?
I think you need – now, he's a guy who needs a series.
I agree with that. That's a long time. 8 weeks would be a very, very long time now.
It's just stuff out there that I didn't want to be thinking about going into the new year. I wanted to be calm, just thinking about my great Eagles team, and that stinking Dallas game has thrown a monkey wrench in everything. And it's just upsetting me a little bit. 610-632-0975, back here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. We have Tim McManus on at 4:30 to talk about the whole Eagles situation. Just to give an update, Jalen Hurts did practice today, and he was practicing with the ones. And that's as much as we know because we don't want to overly speculate. But Tim later on will be able to give us some more information about that. Word of the day is dangerous because the Eagles are not right now in a spot where I think they're vulnerable to losing, even to the 49ers. What I do think they're vulnerable now to, though, is their own injuries being their undoing more than the other team. Because if Brock Purdy comes on the road as a rookie and beats this team in the playoffs, then I'll tip my cap that he's the next Tom Brady. But my gut says he's not. And the Cowboys, you saw that game. If we're being honest, even though Minshew did not play poorly, who amongst us didn't say, oh, well, if Hurts plays, they win the game? Well, Hurts will play the next one. The only thing I think that can beat the Eagles at this point would be these injuries, and that's where it's a danger zone right now because they're like one more away, and I'm literally knocking on wood, for it being a real problem, and it already will likely be tougher now than it was going to be before.
So the way McClain wrote this out on a tweet is still a long way to playing on Sunday. Jalen Hurts participated in light individual drills before media was kicked out of practice. He was a non-participant for Wednesday's walkthrough, which is important because that's the day where the offense is instilled with the game plan. So that's just something to kind of sit on as we await what's going to happen this upcoming week. I think it's going to be Minshew is my guess.
My guess would be that it would still be Minshew. This practice is a way for him, though, for the people worried about his rust. Well, if he's out there practicing, throwing, staying sharp, keeping the body moving, well, then it reduces some of the rust factor. I think that's, to me, more the deal. I just don't believe I just don't think they need him to win the game.
I don't think they do either.
Does it say anything that was at the media part of practice? Is there anything behind that?
Well, they always do individual stuff before the team stuff because they're worried about that, oh, my God, if you see us run double tight, you're going to tell the Saints, you media guys, and now we're going to lose. So they always do the individual drills ahead of time.
Right.
So, and then they'll tell us whether or not he did the team drills. But that's what they do every week.
Yeah, these were just drills.
I think 98% of it is Jalen Hurts needs to throw the football, and then the 2% is we're going to get a little advantage because now the Saints are going to have to game plan for two quarterbacks.
Of course.
They love that garbage. So I'd say 99% of it maybe. I'll move it even farther now. 99% is actually getting Jalen Hurts to throw the football.
Look what we're doing here.
And then the 1% would be that, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's can we talk about this, though? Going back to that game. Yeah. Quez Watkins pisses me off, man. I don't understand how I hate throwing the word soft around in these sports because clearly these guys aren't soft. But dude, I mean, you got to win a battle. You got to win a one-on-one matchup.
He doesn't win.
No, the ball's getting ripped right out of his hands. Like where's the toughness?
Beast. He's not a beast.
Well, you gotta be. You gotta be, or else that's gonna happen.
I mean, you look at Devontae Smith, not a big guy. He's a beast.
Oh man,
he will take the ball away from you.
Special.
Yeah, he's
special.
1,000 yards. He followed up already, so he got 1,015 games. Got 1,015 games.
We were debating if it would take the final week of the season or not.
Got 1,000, so he's got 2,000-yard receivers.
Oh, hum.
Yeah, just go out there, get 1,000, get 1,000 on the 1,300 on the other side. All right, here's the tough part with Quez, because you're right. I don't like to call players soft because they're all tougher than me. This is what I will say, though. When guys talk about, what you did in high school and stuff like that, 99.9% of the time, that's something stupid because you didn't play at the highest level. But no, when you go across the middle of the field, one of the number one things they teach you from the time you're 8 years old all the way through the NFL is you don't let anyone climb your back to get the ball. If they undercut the route, that's completely different because that's the quarterback not anticipating stuff like that. You can never let a guy come from behind you, literally climb your back and get to the ball. Your job is to, even if you have to step forward, if it's 3rd and 7 and you're at a spot where, fine, you have to stay at 7 yards, otherwise you'll be short of the first down, different. But any other time, you go to the ball to prevent that from happening. And he let that happen 3 different times in the game.
He faded away from the ball every single time.
And
he didn't want that contact.
And that's the problem. And when the guy's behind you, unless he's drilling you directly in the back, and you make yourself big, even if you're not a big guy, you should be able to get it to where you can get it because the ball placement was not terrible on those throws. And instead, but at some point, though, remember the Rager. By the way, Jefferson is having maybe the best year in the history of the NFL at wide receiver, by the way. Just look at his stats. It's unbelievable the year he's having, but whatever, Rager. When Rager was here, and the first time Hurts threw it to him again in that Giants game, and he dropped it. And then the second time, he missed the ball completely, hit him in the face mask. I was like, the first one was on Rager. The second one was on Hurts, because you got to know, with the game on the line, not to go to that guy. It'd be like late in the game, you can't let I'm not having Shake Milton take the final shot. If I got Embiid and Tobias and Maxey and Harden out there, Shake's not getting the ball on the last play for me. Miss or make, I'm not giving it to Shake on the last possession.
He hit a bomb at the end of the half.
He did at the end of the half. I'm personally not giving it to him. Me personally, I'm saying you have to be smart. At some point on third down, especially, Minshew's got to know, I don't care if he's covered. I'm going to A.J. Brown, Avonte Goddard. I don't care if they leave this guy butt naked open. I can't trust him across the middle. And he kept going to him. And there's no way this year Jalen Hurts would have kept throwing it to Quez across the middle, knowing that he was turtling up all scared.
Yeah, as you say that, I start to kind of think, all right, well, are we asking too much of Gardner, a backup quarterback, to say,
Throw to the best player.
You got to separate these guys?
Throw to the best player.
I'm
Wait a minute.
saying.
You don't think Gardner Minshew know who the best receiver is on the team? What do you mean?
He's a backup quarterback. We got limitations.
Ricky Bo.
He's wrong.
Right.
I've never been right.
If you're a backup quarterback, you're in my head, it's Brown, Smith, Goddard.
Well, they both had a hundo plus.
No, well, I think it should have been 200.
200.
Right. You can't keep going to him. No. That'd be like saying, okay, you got a hitter in baseball that's dead red. Dead red here. He can only hit the fastball, can't hit the breaking ball.
All right, Bryce Harper's up at the dish.
All right. Well, he can hit breaking ball.
Yeah,
I'm saying you got a player who's but he can really hit for power, only the fastball. Ricky's the closer. So you bring in the seventh inning guy. He's not supposed to know to throw a first pitch changeup because he's not as good as Ricky Bo?
Well, the seventh inning guy is still getting some action.
Okay, let's say he's the last guy out of the bullpen. The scouting report says he chases he's Castellanos. Don't dare throw it in.
Chases the slider.
So what do you do on the first pitch?
I'm throwing it away.
Well,
because it's going to be off speed, yeah.
If you're Minshew in that game, the first one where it ended up getting intercepted, the first one I can give you. After that, what are you doing going to him in important moments when you have awesome alternatives? I don't care if they're double covered. I'd rather throw to A.J. Brown triple coverage than to go to Quez in something other than a go route or a slant or something where he's wide open.
Yeah, I think it's tough. It's tough to ask the backup quarterback to now have to separate all this at the speed of the game.
Number one, if Quez goes to those balls, there's 3 interference calls.
Yes.
There's 3. Not
the guys
one,
right.
not 2, all 3, because he would have been going for the ball. Instead, he's fading away, kind of keeping his. That's why they don't call the interference, because he's going away for the ball.
He's almost initiating the contact with the.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not even having this conversation, though, if Sanders and Boston Scott don't just hold the damn football.
Well, the Sanders one hurts me the most because I thought I thought he was past it.
Problem was
Yeah,
gone.
he was past.
And the problem has come back.
Cost you big in the Bears game. You still won, but that was a costly turnover. Comes back, has 2 in 2 games. And that one was the game in my opinion. If he doesn't fumble there, and they were saying, did he have trouble? No, he had it. Went to, I don't know if he went to put it away or something. Next thing you know,
I think it was was Parsons there, so he tried to almost I don't know. He did some movement with the ball in the hand. Yeah.
And next thing you know, the ball's bouncing every which way.
Could have been just wanting to switch it to the other arm, and he couldn't kind of get it all the way over there.
And he owned it after the game, so I'm not trying to kill him. He owned it.
We don't care if he owns it, though, do we?
I do to a point.
A little bit, yeah.
I can't have the guys out there faking no, it's all fine. No, you can't make that kind of mistake. It's just that.
No, you're right, Ricky. The bigger issue is not allowing this to happen again. But once it does happen, he handled it the best way he could.
Well, we thought the other one was because cold weather.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, this is temperature, no temperature problems in Dallas.
I'm looking at Scott, though. It's okay, you finally get the football. You're waiting on the sidelines with your helmet in your hand, or even on your head, waiting to get the tap from the running backs coach. You finally do. And that possession, you put it on the ground?
Both Scotts had a bad game.
Called trying to do too much.
Both Josiah and Boston.
Yeah.
And this
Josiah was terrible.
I mean,
officially,
Slay,
well, apparently, Slay says you don't know what you're talking about online. He wasn't just talking about you, Hunter, but he was including you.
Yep.
He was saying that was the way the defense was called, and the safety didn't do their job. He was supposed to release.
I just in general, I don't know if I saw the best version of Darius Slay.
I think they kind of knew they didn't need the game. I think they kind of knew they didn't need the game.
You know what? Be honest here. Who watched the game like that? I did. I knew they didn't need it.
I was kind of in it, man. I was in my feelings.
My daughter was dropping cuss bombs the whole time. I'm like, they don't need the game. She's like,
no, we like that.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
We're proud of her.
Out of her mind.
I had to keep reminding myself that it didn't matter. It's like, okay, if they lose, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I had to be the good dad, trying to be nice. Don't worry, it's okay.
I calmed down.
Something bad go. I'm like, here we go.
I was calm until the fumble by.
They had two 10-point leads.
Yeah,
you
second
shouldn't have
10
lost.
You can't lose the game. You can't lose. But if Jalen Hurts is there, you don't lose the game because he knows not to throw it to Quez in that spot. And on one of those, he keeps it rather than giving it to Sanders, and then he goes the other way for 30. Game over, and they win the game. So, but
Quez is a flip of the coin.
But we're going to answer this on the other side. If you were the Eagles and it comes time to cut the check, we'll answer this on the other side of the break. The Miles Sanders check, does that fumble in the Dallas game come into your thinking when it's time to pay him?